Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Bitcoin Cash. This is going to be a low time frame video. There is a higher time frame video up above, so check that out if that's more what you're interested in. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so before we jump into the smaller time frame counts here, I just want to go over some of the higher time frame ideas. So one of them is that we are actually looking to still have a fourth wave, and invalidation of this would actually come by crossing this 384. And what we'd be looking for here as a common target, we've actually come up very high if this is a fourth, and what we'd be looking for effectively would be this 0.618 would be really the highest I want to see this come. Normally we're only looking for between this 50% and this 236 as a wave 4, so the probability of this is already less, but as long as we actually stay below this 384 region, we could still see that potential of a 5-wave move to the downside, looking to potentially push us down into some of these lower target areas here between this 6454 to this 3923. So going to be keeping an eye on this, particularly if we lose this low here of this 9155. This would confirm that this move to the upside here has been a C wave, in which case we'd be looking for a move to the downside. Now that move to the downside could actually mean that this move is actually looking at this slightly different, where as we were talking about previously, what we could have is we could have this as A, B, and C down into here, and this can be played around with a little bit. We could also move this C wave into here. It is technically possible to count these subwaves in such a way that our C wave actually comes into this point. And if this is the case, what we could then have is the idea that this whole move is a flat here, where this is A, B, and C. Now, this would be a very extended C wave in a flat, which is not very common, but it can happen. We have come up to this 2618. So we'll be keeping an eye on this if we do start to break down in a bigger way. Confirmation would only come by losing this B wave low, however. So we need to be on the lookout for this, but the fact is, really, as long as we actually maintain some of the key support zones higher up here, this is looking more likely to actually be looking to develop into an impulse. So we're going to go over that now. If we are completed into this low here, what we could actually have is something like this, where we're actually looking at this as 1, 2, looking for a third wave to complete, then looking for a fourth and a fifth. Now, there are some things I want to talk about within this. If we are looking at this as a wave 1 here, this is a wave 2. We have hit that 1618, and the common target area we actually look for as a fourth wave would be between this 234 to this 169 area. So we are looking for that possibility of seeing price start to move down into this level. The thing is within this, now if we look at the time that it took for this wave 2 to play out, we would be looking for something comparable to it. So 1-to-1 would actually be all the way up here in the 23rd of October, which I don't think there's enough space to see this actually play out in such a way here. So if we are looking at this, I'd like to see at least a 0.382 to a 50% of this as a wave 2 here, as a time zone where we could look to actually see this play out to. Now, we do have potential. We could actually be continuing to extend out here, which would make a lot more sense here if we have this actually play out higher. Then we see that longer period of a fourth wave and then that continuation up. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Obviously, invalidation of this fourth wave would come here by crossing this wave 1 at this 154.455. So if we cross that area there, that would invalidate this idea of a wave 4 now, and then we wouldn't be looking for this idea of an additional push to the upside. So that would be looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a regular impulse here. Now what we need to be aware of is if we are looking at this as just a 5-wave move, a 3-wave move, and a 5-wave move, if we actually we could start to form something like a diagonal where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get something like a contracting wedge shape pattern here. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. We don't have obviously all the information yet. We get this as the market shows it to us, and we will be looking for that potential to actually see this play out. Now, if this is a fourth wave, like I said, I'd like to see this drag out and actually look to take a bit longer. I wouldn't say that this is completed and we are pushing up. If we do push up, it would mean that we are potentially still within this wave 3. So there are some ways that we could still be looking at this. Now, another thing I just want to talk about is that if we are actually looking at this as potentially a 1-2, 1-2, what we could see is price could actually come down in a bigger way here, and that would allow for that idea that this becomes 1-2. We get 1-2 here, push up higher for 3, 4, 5, and then have that fourth wave comparable to this area. So just looking out for that potential of extension here. So if we count this as a completed move up here, what we could see is price could actually start to gravitate back down here deeper between this $200 and this $119 level. So this would be the higher end of this that I'd want to see. I'd actually like to see it come deeper, to be honest with you. And we do have some interesting areas, particularly towards this golden pocket at this 148 level. Though higher up here, we also do have towards this 50% a retest of some structure here and towards this 382. So between these higher levels here, there is potential we could look to find support at that sort of level. So the idea with this would actually be that we see a bigger 5-wave move up where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, and then we'd be looking for that potential that this is a wave 3, we have this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, something like this. Now we've gone over that, I just want to discuss what we could be looking at here on the shorter term. So if we are looking at that idea of a 4th wave here, like I said, where this becomes a wave 3 here, and we're looking for this as a bigger corrective move, what we could see is something along these lines where actually we are looking to form a B wave to the upside. Now, there's 2 ways that we can count this. So I'm going to go over the yellow count first here. So what we could actually argue is that we have a corrective move down here in an A. We've got this as A, looking for a B and a C, in which case what we'd be looking to do is actually maintain this level here of this 249.05, looking for this move to complete, have a deeper retracement here, get a C wave to the upside, and potentially look to target out this zone of this 323 level. Now, if we are looking at this as A, this is B, and then looking for that C wave down, potentially what we could see is that if we do see this price come up into this 1-to-1 that we have here on this blue ABC pattern here, what we could then see is price could actually look to come back down here towards this level of this 246 as a 1-to-1, and then anywhere down between this and this 1618 would align with the typical C wave target level. So now an interesting zone here would actually be this previous wave over here towards this 221. I would be keeping an eye on this if we do see price come down here. Now, like I said, this would be looking for the idea that we actually find support here one more time, push up, and then our target box would actually be this higher level here. Depending on how high we come here, this would change how this target would be here to the downside. And what I would be looking for effectively would be a move that comes up. If it's going to be a regular flat, we'd be looking for a move between this 327 to this 308. So I want to see this as A, B, C. If we start to take the origin of this move here, potentially what we could then be looking for is rather looking to target up this higher area here of this 363 to this 349. Now, if we do see this as A, B, and C, and we look to push up into this higher zone, this would align with the idea of getting something like an expanding flat here, where we would be looking for that possibility of this move to the downside after getting a push up here, taking these highs of this A wave, and then looking for that C wave down. Now, the other way that this could play out is that we could actually argue that this is a W wave here. We have something like a flat correction here as a running flat for this as an X wave. And then we just see 3 waves down, which actually comes back down here and breaks this low. So if we break this low of this 249.04, what I would be looking for is the potential that we could see price come back down into some of these lower levels here. This 1618 zone would be particularly interesting, as it would bring us back into the support over here. As well as that, we have this 1382 and this 1236 sitting higher up here that would be looking to actually retest the higher end of this. As well as that, obviously, if we do just see 3 waves down, we could actually look to form a double bottom here. Now, the key thing with this is if we are looking at this as that bigger 4th wave, I wouldn't be looking at this as a completed move. What I'd be looking for is effectively to see some kind of a 3-wave move down, another 3-wave move up, and then we're going to see this drag out and look to take a bit more time here. Now, it is possible that we could see something like this as a move to the downside. We could even see a break back above these highs and then still look to push down at a later date. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the internals of these as they develop. And now this would be looking for that corrective structure to start to develop here. Now, we were also talking about that potential that within this, we could see this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this would mean that we could be potentially completed here. But like I said in the previous video, until we actually take this 221, we also need to be careful of that bullish case here where we could still have extension within these waves. So until we actually take this low here, what we could still have is that this could become a 1, 2, and this would only be confirmed by pushing higher up here. But what we could then see is the potential to see price move up towards this area here of this 1618, which would be this 462 level, in which case what we'd then be looking for, that this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, which could look to push us up as high as this 537 to this 490 level. Now this would actually be implying that we're starting to get some extension here within the fifth wave, which is not as common. It is also possible that there could be something else going on here, like this could be a 1, 2, this could become another 1, 2, and then we start to break out in a bigger way. The problem I have with this is that this as a 1, 2 would be very short, which would not be very common, and it would have been very a very shallow retracement. So it would make more sense to me that if this is going to extend out, it's going to be in this fifth wave, and what we'd be looking at is something like this, where we'd be looking for this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we'd be looking for is potentially moving up into these higher targets of this 537 to this 590 zone. Now, another common target that we were looking for as this as a fifth wave was this 0.382, and we hit this target. If we do look to push up higher here and potentially we form something like this ABC, and then we start to form some kind of a diagonal pattern here, potentially this 0.618 could be an interesting level. As well as that, we still have this target box here towards this 365 to this 336 region, which actually has some naked points of control in it, and has also got this golden pocket of this entire move to the downside sitting within here between this 36490 and this lower range here of this 339.86. We do also have some naked points of control towards the bottom end of this, which would be some weekly and monthly ones at this 337 and this 336. So if we do see price start to push to the upside here, the only way I can see it that if we're going to end around this zone would be something like a diagonal, but we need more we need more confluence here. We need to see another 5-wave move up first, and then that would actually become our wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. So yeah, I mean, that could be technically taking place as long as we actually hold this low here of this 24905, but really we need to see, you know, that continuation up happen afterwards. Otherwise it could just be, like I said, that this could be a flat here, we break down, or this becomes A, B, C, and then we break down. So it's going to be key that if we're looking for this continuation up, that we see this low hold and that we see price start to push back and break above some of these key levels that we have here for that bullish case. So what we can see here is, looking at the daily CPR, what we have is that we actually managed to hold above these central CPR lines. We retested, we moved up to this S2 line, and now we're looking to see if we can find support on this S1 line here. Now if we do see price actually continue to push to the upside, potential targets would be this 313 and this 325 throughout the course of today. Now price can always move through these levels, we need to be aware of that, but these are potential pivot points. Now if we do start to lose the S1 line here at this 283, what we could see is price come back down into these central lines between this 2670 and this 2679. Now if we are looking at these higher areas as a direct target here, I would ideally like to see these hold. If we start to lose this zone, we could see a retest of this R1 at this 25470, this R2 at this 23721, this R3 at this 22549, and this lower level here of this 20821. So that would be looking at some potential downside targets. Flipping this over onto the weekly pivots, what we can see here is that we are currently still above these weekly CPR lines. Now we're talking about the potential of coming back into these. We actually came down to this lower target area here, and now we actually have moved back above these. If we can continue to hold these lines, potentially we could see price actually be gravitated towards the upside here, looking for this S1, which would actually be looking for this 254 area, which would be within that target box that we're talking about. As well as that, if we do look for higher targets, we have 410 and this area of this 493. As well as that, you know, if we do look at the downside potential here, if we start to lose these central CPR lines, potentially we could see price move into this R1 line, which would be quite interesting as we're coming back into some of the structure here, retesting this high here. Alternatively, if we're looking at that deeper retracement, like we were talking about, you know, that possibility of 1, 2, then potentially this R2 line here, this 131 area is going to be quite an interesting zone. And then we have our R3 lower down here towards the $75 region. Now, if we also have a look at the monthly, what we can see is that we are currently still holding the top monthly CPR line. If we do look to actually move down, potentially we could look to find support on this at this 272 area. If we do find support on that, potentially we could see price move to the upside, looking for this higher CPR line here at this S1 at this 390 level. Now, if we do see that get taken out, we do have other targets here, this 477 and this 626 as potential upside targets. Now, if we do see this idea of this bigger corrective move, what we could actually see is price come back down into this zone of this central line here at this 240. We also have this lower level here of this 208 as a potential target. If we are looking at something like this as a corrective move to the downside, we also do have the lower targets here of the R1 at this 154. Which would be quite interesting because of this high that we have over here towards this 154.58. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.